back again.
Hi, Daphne.
Hi, Mom. I'm Daphne.
What? And I'm Gail.
And we're disturbed because that's disturbing.
We are. That's disturbing.
Did you think I was gonna... that's disturbing. Our podcast is not called We're Disturbed or We're Disturbing. That's disturbing. I was waiting for you to jump in there with me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was letting you have the floor.
Oh, we're disturbed.
We're so disturbed. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. I have something to tell you. We got Instagram followers, a couple of them. They haven't all accepted our follow request back. So, do that if you want us to hold up our end of the deal. Let us see your pages, right?
Well, we tried. So if they don't...
Yeah, we've requested them.
Right. And if they don't want us to follow them...
I want to see everybody's lovely faces.
Right. But I'm just grateful that some people are following us.
Me too.
So that's exciting.
Me too.
Sorry.
Stop doing whatever the fuck you're doing.
I'm making
no
noise.
more hands in pockets. What are you doing? Clicking your own nails together?
No, I have a little mini deodorant, and I'm taking the lid on and off of it in my pocket because I have that kind of nervous ADD energy.
Right now?
Always.
Okay.
Every second of every minute of every day.
Gotcha. Well,
the struggle is fucking real.
Maybe we need to get you something that's quiet, like a little squish ball.
Ooh, that would probably be
when we are
better than my mini deodorant.
Yeah, that's making sense.
Just so happens I have some...
Just so happens I have a squished ball.
Nice. And it's shaped like it's Ralphie from CU.
Ralphie, yep.
From the CU Buffs.
From the CU Buffs.
And or bison, because there are no buffalo in North America.
That's
a
real
whole
disturbing
different
fact.
That's a whole different Oprah. Or a whole different story. We're not going to say that, okay?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great woman, though.
Right, and everybody says that, so I feel like it's okay to say it.
Yeah, no, I think she's a great woman. Who's
and now I'm twisting it and still making noise with it. Okay.
Just squeeze it.
I know it, but I went like this, and then it sounded like it was farting, and it was really Ralphie.
Like it was farting. Like who was farting?
Okay, I'll stop.
Specific. We got our first case request form. This is from somebody that we know. So if you're listening, it's going to take us a little bit of time to do it because we want to do everything we can, bring justice, like get the story out there, get it heard. Granted, our following is not huge, but we want to do it for you and bring awareness and justice to the victim who, spoiler, is a survivor, which is great.
That's awesome.
But, just bring awareness around it. So that's going to take us a while.
Yeah.
But that's exciting. We got our first one because we love, I don't know. Do we love catering to people because nobody's had us do it yet?
Right. I bet we would love catering to people if people wanted us to cater to them.
Yes, exactly.
How about that?
I'm not talking like bringing you guys Taco Bell, but like...
I feel like that's not catering.
I feel like it is. I'm talking like send us a case request form at our website, that's disturbingpodcast.com, or Gmail, that's disturbingpodcast@gmail.com. Oh, and I didn't plug our Instagram, at that's disturbingpodcast. That's the first time I've ever gotten it right. Like, said it all without being like,
Congratulations. The 14th time's the charm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, this is like the 97th time by how many times sometimes you and I sit there and then we just can't stop laughing. And it's like, okay, the first 3 minutes of introduction is done.
Right.
Redo.
We have to delete all that and start over.
Yeah, right.
So, Daph, you want to get into your disturbing fact?
I would love to, because you know why? I'm really ready to get into Sid and Nancy part 2. I want to know what the fuck is happening over there.
Okie dokie.
So,
I'm excited to tell you.
I want to know what's going on in the world of Sid. What the fuck was that?
I don't know. I might have been starting to yawn. And then I stopped.
Okay. I should stop laughing while I read this. It's a known thing in many old civilizations, right? That human sacrifice was a thing. Not all, but many.
Right.
So, like, the Mayan Empire, specifically today, we're talking about the Aztec Empire. That's what our fact is about. The ancient Aztecs, yes.
Yes.
In South America.
Okay.
I think even in Mesopotamia, they had human sacrifice. But anyway, so our fact is that these priests, the Aztec priests, They believed that the tears of children could stop droughts. So I'm going to explain a little bit more about that.
Okay, because I have a puzzled look on my face.
Yeah, so the followers of the Aztec priests were like people who subscribed to that religion, right?
Which would probably be all of the Aztecs.
I think that there might have been a little bit of like people who probably didn't.
Maybe.
You know, it's still human culture. It's
That's true.
Human behavior to not want to follow suit every way.
Yeah.
But anyway, they believed in the power of human sacrifice. Obviously, it's what we're talking about today. And many of their rituals included sacrificing women and children to their sun god, Huitzilopochtli. I hope I didn't butcher that. Apologies. Please, I would like the sunshine.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to butcher anybody for it, okay? I think human sacrifice, like, still happens today, obviously. But people go to jail for it now. Because there were, I don't know. I feel like there were still checks and balances back then, but different.
Well, because obviously human sacrifice was okay. Like, you probably couldn't just randomly go kill somebody, but you could sacrifice somebody for a good cause.
Yeah, right. You could be like, I hate this person. I volunteer them as tribute.
Right.
They're up next week.
Yep.
So when they experienced droughts, though, Aztec priests sacrificed children because they thought that their tears would call upon the rain to come, which is real disturbing.
That is real disturbing.
It's sad.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like processing the information because I'm thinking tears are salty. And so that's like the opposite of rain. Not the opposite of rain, but you know what I mean. Like,
it's like ocean water, which is drying.
It wouldn't cause hydration.
Yeah, which would just further lead to a drought.
Right. But I guess if you think that you're going to sacrifice kids and get rain, that's a whole
other issue that's going on upstairs.
Right.
And
maybe
it worked. Sacrificing them to. Maybe it did. I mean, I know faith is huge, but I mean, I think that faith is more about, I'm going to get on a tangent here for just a moment. What I'm going to say is I don't think, like, church is a necessary. Like, it's more about having a relationship than, like, subscribing to something, which I hate that I keep using the word subscribing.
It's okay. It's because you want people to subscribe to our Instagram or follow us or something.
Yeah, basically. I'm like, subscribe to the podcast, listen to it.
These are subliminal messages.
Subscribe.
Ooh, that was bad. See, that was like a choking in my throat thing.
Any hoodles. But yeah, I just think it's more about like a personal relationship. And I think if they were to pray for it, that probably would have done it justice. But nope, they went out there and sacrificed kids for it. So hopefully they got the rain because they lost kids.
Right. Let's hope that it worked.
Yeah.
At least something good maybe came from it.
I hope so. Because that seems like a pretty dark path to go down for nothing to go right for you.
Right. Well, it must have worked, or at least maybe they believed it worked because they wouldn't have continued to do it.
Yeah.
So.
I can't believe we're trying to find a positive about murdering children to receive rain.
Well, that's us, Daphne. Always looking for the glass half full instead of the glass half empty.
Yes, the sun is always shining.
Right.
The grass is greener on this side of the fence.
Right. Our grass is green. We don't need to go to the other side because that grass might not be greener.
Yes, absolutely.
That was a weird thing for me to say.
Oh my God. When I was watching My Life is Earl.
My name is Earl.
My name is Earl. My life feels like Earl's right now. I kind of feel this daze where I'm trying to get some good karmic relief. Anyway, you sounded just like Randy, where he takes like a real long roundabout to just say one thing.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. It's fine. Randy and I might be soul siblings.
Oh my gosh. And I'm really glad that you're liking My Name is Earl.
I know.
That show's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it when I was a kid. I didn't understand a damn thing that was going on. But I remember Joy's name, because when we turned it on, I was like, that's Joy.
Yeah. Glad you remember. Oh, jeez.
Very enthusiastic Joy. All right, Mom.
Yeah.
Tell me about Sid Vicious. Oh, it's his turn.
Right.
He's up next.
So this is part 2 of Sid and Nancy, or Nancy and Sid, as I like to call it, because I have more information about Nancy. So
Her name gets to go first.
So she gets to go first. Yeah, exactly.
And in alphabetical order.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing as well.
It's always been. But it's fine.
But it's fine. So if you didn't listen to part 1, you should go back and listen to part 1 because that's where we get all the details of Nancy's life. That was tragic from the get-go.
Stop.
What?
No spoilers for part 1. Go listen to it.
Yeah, but it was tragic from the get-go. That's where I'm just going to get you to want to be like, oh my God, what happened? So I'm going to go listen.
Okay, well, you may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to proceed. Okay, so compared to Nancy, little is known about Sid's early life, but he was born John Simon Ritchie May 10th, of 1957. His father was never part of his life. So when he was a baby, his mom moved to Ibiza in Spain, and they're in the UK, right? Mm-hmm. I did not say that. Did I? I did not say that.
You said in the last episode that...
Yeah, but if they didn't listen to part 1, then they're not going to know.
That they were a UK band, the Sex Pistols.
Yes. So they are living in the UK. The dad goes to Ibiza, maybe not. Says to the mom, her name is Anne, come be with me in Ibiza, and we're going to raise our son together, and life is going to be grand. So she gets to Ibiza, no dad.
Do you think he faked his own death?
I don't know, but he ghosted her for sure because they never, quote unquote, connected when she got there. So she's kind of like fucked.
Maybe
because
she made up a lie. She didn't know who the dad was and she ran away.
Maybe. But I don't know. Maybe not. But I don't know. Anyway, so she picks up her whole entire life, moves to a different country, doesn't know anybody, doesn't have any money.
Devil's advocate.
Well, so I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I would fake that and leave.
Oh, if you're faking it to move to a place with nothing, like no footing.
Yeah.
Then no, absolutely not.
No footing. Because she thought she was going to go be with the dad. And then the dad was like, psych, I'm not in Ibiza.
So I take back that devil's advocate.
Okay.
But I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not refuting the first devil's advocate because he could have faked his death or he could have died.
Could have. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's a mystery. One of the many mysteries of the world.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
We shall never know.
Nope, we won't. So anyway, Anne is in Ibiza with her son, little baby John. So she starts selling weed to support herself and her son. And I don't know, presumably because she can't like go get a job because she again doesn't know anybody. And
she's got a little baby to take care of.
Yeah, and she doesn't have anybody to like leave him with or whatever.
Easy stream of income.
So she just sells weed.
Especially in the 50s when, I don't know for that time period, but in the United States it's very peace and love.
Right.
So could have been the same way.
Who knows?
Or we're entering the peace and love phase in the States. So
but
could have been the same way in Europe.
Well, and people have always wanted weed, and so they always need someone to sell it to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Supply and demand.
They don't have dispensaries like we do here, baby.
Right. Supply and demand. It's always been a thing.
Not in the 50s. I'm not sure about now. We didn't either in the 50s.
No, we did not.
Okay, sorry.
That's fine. It's good. It's great. So eventually, Anne and John were able to move back to the UK. And in 1965, Anne married Christopher Beverly, who became pretty much the only role model in John's life. And again, we're calling him John because this is his name until it isn't his name.
Away.
But it's his birth name. It's his given name. And so at this point, he's still John. Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious is John Simon Ritchie.
And John Simon Ritchie is Sid Vicious.
Yes.
They are one.
They are one.
They just are different names.
Exactly.
Same person.
Exactly.
Maybe a little bit of personality shift.
Maybe. That's fair. Very fair.
Because he sounds like a sweet kid at this point.
Yeah. I think he's,
Yeah, he just sounds like a mama's boy.
Well, maybe. I feel like he didn't really have a choice. But.
Right, but that's sweet.
Yes. Christopher Beverly was pretty much the only male role model in John's life. And unfortunately, after only 6 months of marriage, he died because he went into kidney failure.
That's really sad.
So, yeah, that sucks.
I wonder if that was like Anne's love of her life, too.
I don't know.
That's really sad.
It is really sad, especially if you're only
Because she married him.
Yeah, she married him. She loved him. And it's only 6 months and that's all you get. That does really suck.
Yeah.
So in 1971, John began going by John Beverly. During this time, his mom, who suffered from mental illness, it appears like she's not diagnosed with mental illness, but it just kind of seems like she maybe has mental illness because she decided that she was cursed because the first dad dipped, right? Well, not the first dad, the real dad, the bio dad dipped, right? And then the guy that she marries dies after 6 months.
Yeah.
So she thinks that...
Really bad run of luck.
Well, and she thinks it's her fault. So she becomes convinced that she's cursed. So... probably there's some mental illness going on there. That's the suspicion.
Right. That's
Yeah,
sad.
It is sad. Because she believes she was cursed, she just started spiraling, right? And she stops taking care of herself and she stops taking care of John and she sinks into addiction, opioid addiction, and eventually moves into heroin. So, you know, she's going down a bad road.
That is a bad road. I mean, I feel like I would say, oh, hey, girl, call up a witch doctor. But they could help with that curse. However, the witch doctor we talked about liked to use little children bones in her practices. So maybe, like, I don't know which is the worst of the two evils. Actually, I do. It's the witch doctor.
The witch doctor.
But, like, self-harm isn't cool either.
Self-medicating.
That's self-harm.
Well, it is. That's true. So John's mom, Anne, thinks she's cursed. She's crazy, or maybe crazy, and now she's a drug addict. So John began to lash out because obviously has a really unsettled childhood, right? He's watching his mom deal drugs, and the man that he knew as his father figure died, and he never knew his own dad. So he's like
sad.
He's spiraling also because he's like, I don't know, I guess he feels fucked up. So he starts lashing out. You know how when people...
I would also feel fucked up.
Well, when people feel upset, when people feel like, I don't know, they
like
get angry.
He doesn't know how to channel his rage.
Right. So, or his emotions. And he channels them into rage. So he starts lashing out. So when he was about 16, he talked to a school counselor about his feelings. And he was suicidal. And he felt like his life had no purpose or meaning. And he wished that he'd never been born. So it's all really sad. I think that's really sad. And he felt like everything in his life was a mess because of him. So similar to his mom, who thinks she's cursed and she's the reason for all this, he probably, because of his mom and watching her feel this way, then begins to think this way himself. That, like,
he's cursed. The life he has is his own fault.
Right. That if he wasn't ever born, then none of this would have happened to his mom. And, you know... So
that's really sad.
It is really sad.
Poor way of thinking.
Exactly.
And feeling.
Right. So I'm going to... The trigger warning here. Animal cruelty.
Ew.
Yeah, I hate it. So he also admitted to this counselor that he talked to at school, he was torturing small animals in an attempt to feel in control. And the counselor, unfortunately, was unable to offer real help and just told him he was being overdramatic.
Yeah, you just keep doing your thing, you little drama queen.
Right? I feel like that's
drama
not
king.
a really good counselor, though.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's absolutely not.
Right? Like, no, you're cool. You're being dramatic. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean, that's when things go awry, is when people don't actually get the help they need, like we heard with Nancy. No spoilers. Listen to part 1.
Right, exactly. So, two kindred spirits here, yeah? Nancy and Sid.
Oh, absolutely is what it sounds like. I mean, they definitely had different upbringings.
Oh, yeah. Different paths, different...
But their way of feelings and not getting the help that they needed.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
I feel like Nancy started a lot sooner in life, like immediately upon birth. But...
Spoiler! Listen to episode 1.
You know, we're gonna have to talk about it.
Not a lot of it.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna share all the details, but that's... Part 1's great. Highly recommend.
Yes, part 1's good.
Except for that you can hear my dog, but she's fine. She's real cute.
Oh my god, so much you can hear the dog. Anyway, it's fine.
A dog. It's Pixie-lish.
Pix. Okay, at this time, his mom kicked him out. So he's 16. His mom kicks him out, and he begins living on the streets. And it's also this time when he starts hanging out with these kids that would really become his only true friends. And all four of them were named John, so they became known as the Four Johns.
That must be really confusing.
Oh my God,
hey,
so
John.
confusing.
3 people look at you.
Right?
You might look at yourself and go, huh?
So, because that would be really confusing, they gave each other nicknames.
Okay.
Right? So that's cool.
Yeah. It's like, I'm John S. now.
Right? So this is how Sid Vicious came into play. So long before the Sex Pistols, right? He was named for his friend's hamster, Sid, who had bitten him. And the last name Vicious was given to him because it was the opposite of who he was. Because at this time, even though he's torturing small animals, so I know.
I feel like that's
oxymoron or not, like, I don't know, because the look on your face, yeah. But they said at this time he was still very sweet and very shy. And so it was like, it's like when you call
you said it was the opposite of who he was, and he's vicious, and he's not vicious then, but he's killing small animals. It's like very contradictory.
It is contradictory, but I'm just going off the information that I have.
Maybe his friends didn't know that he killed animals.
Maybe not. So but it's like,
oh, our sweet little Johnny boy Sid Vicious.
Right. So it's ironic. It's like when someone who's huge, you call them tiny.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. So they said he was really sweet and he was really shy. And so
these 4 Johns should have been more original, like Johnny Boy, Jonathan, John,
Johnny P, Johnny R, Johnny.
No. Johnny Boy, Jonathan, J, and then John. How much more original can you add than that?
Probably a lot or not at all.
There you go.
It can go either way. I guess the other torturing animals thing. But besides that, he's sweet and shy. I don't know. Due to his rough looks.
Yeah, you weren't there. You couldn't have known.
No clue. So, but due to the way he looked, people just believed that he was vicious. But, he's living on the street.
So he's going to look a little...
He's probably going to look a little rough around the edges. Yeah. So Sid wrote music for some bands in the punk movement, but he had no formal training and he couldn't play a note. At least that's what they said. Or he didn't have formal training to have learned to play a musical instrument. And Sid became a member of the Sex Pistols in 1977 as their bass player, even though he couldn't play bass.
Okay.
He was chosen because he was at every single show and because his childhood friend, one of the 4 Johns,
was Johnny Boy?
Was Johnny
Jonathan?
Rotten. Johnny Rotten. So not John.
Johnny.
He was Johnny. And Johnny Rotten. And he's the front man for the Sex Pistols. And again, one of the 4 Johns, so his buddy, right?
So they called him Johnny Rotten because he was so damn sweet. They're like, oh, you're so rotten.
I don't know. Got no background on that.
Or he's like the ripest tomato, and they're like, you're rotten.
You're rotten. So prior to joining the Sex Pistols, because like I said, he was writing music and for some other bands. In 1976, Sid played drums with a band called Susie and the Banshees, which I have heard of. And they actually had music that was on the radio in the 80s and 90s and stuff.
Very good.
Okay. I don't know who that is. Yeah. In 1976 also, Vicious co-founded as a vocalist and a saxophone player the band called Flowers of Romance, along with the Clash co-founder Kevin Levine and Viv Albertine. So Flowers of Romance, never heard of them, didn't take off. The Clash, obviously a huge fucking band.
Right.
So.
Okay, I've never heard of him either, but I'm just nodding my head going, right?
But he's got this musical
his name
background.
Is Keith Levine.
What did I say?
Kevin.
Oh, fuck. Thanks for looking over my shoulder and reading my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
And I even have it highlighted in blue.
They're there.
Right there. Obviously, Sid's got some kind of musical talent if he's forming a band, writing music, co-founds a band with the guy who eventually went on to start the Clash. So He's got some talent.
Yeah, he's doing big things.
Or at least a part of
doing big things.
Yes, exactly.
A part of something to be amazing.
Yeah. Good semantics there, child.
You're so welcome.
All right.
Oh, but you didn't say thank you. Good on me. Good on me.
Yes, I did say good semantics. So that was appropriate to say you're welcome. Okay, the Flowers of Romance never played any live shows or recorded any music, and the members of that band went on to be in other bands, which is why I never fucking heard of them before.
They do.
Well, apparently they had some music, they just didn't record it or play shows. So maybe it was just
were
like
a
their
garage band.
Yeah, or maybe it was like band. Like pre-gaming before a game.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, we're going to play this music and be these people.
If that's how it works. I mean, I feel like maybe they do like a couple sessions. So they like never really were a band. They just like trademarked the name and were like, we're going to be this band. And they're like, no, we're not.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to be this band, but we're not going to record any music or play any live shows. We're just going to get together and jam.
Right. Okay.
And obviously they had music and stuff because it said Sid wrote music for them.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. And he played the saxophone. So he must have been self-taught, though, because they said he never had any formal training. And they also, some sources, like I said, say he
got his hands on any instruments to learn.
I don't know. Maybe
I was just thinking.
Yeah, that. You are thinking. You are thinking. So by the time Sid joined the Sex Pistols, he was already addicted to drugs. And it was believed, unfortunately, that his mom was his drug dealer. And
so they've mended their relationship ish.
Well, I think they never really severed their relationship. It's just she kicked him out of the house. Like, she didn't want to be responsible for him, but, like, it's his mom, so he's still, like, hanging out near her, around her, going to get drugs from her.
That's so weird.
It's so not cool.
So weird.
It is so bad. So, anyway, Sid had served some time in prison for blinding a woman.
Nice.
So, he's building his reputation of being vicious, right?
Yeah, living up to the name.
Right. So, how he blinded this woman was he threw a glass cup at her during a show. And again, I'm going with by this time he was no longer the sweet, shy boy that everyone once knew.
This was in his time as a Sex Pistol.
No, this was prior.
Okay.
So.
Then what show was he playing? The Flower Band didn't do anything.
Probably that other band.
Oh.
Susie and the Banshees, maybe.
Okay, gotcha.
Or maybe it was right at the beginning of Sex Pistol stuff. I don't know, because it says, what I read was...
He already had a record.
He already had a record by the time he was in the Sex Pistols, so I'm assuming it was prior to that. So he's become like this hard, angry person. He's starting to hold a grudge. He's starting to, life is fucking me over, kind of, I'm going to use drugs. Fuck it all, right?
Right.
So he was self-destructive. He was cutting himself. He was starting fights. He was creating chaos wherever he went. And yeah, so it sucks. And like I said, he blinded this girl by throwing a glass cup during a show. So like these shows because it's that punk thing, and I'm air quoting here, that punk thing where they're like out of control and they're violent and like everybody, like the mosh pit kind of stuff. And
okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So he throws this glass, which is obviously an actual glass, and blinds this woman. So he serves time for that.
Questions of how he got a glass on stage, but
well, he's probably drinking out of it.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Probably had alcohol in it. Alcohol.
Yeah. This is post-prohibition. Yeah. And they're in the UK. In my brain, it's like they're here, but they're not.
But they're not.
They haven't been here.
Not yet.
Okay.
So in March of 1977, the Sex Pistols were signed to A&M Records. And in celebration, they trashed the company's offices and held a private party at some speakeasy, the speakeasy. It was called the Speakeasy, a club and a restaurant that was frequented and established by members of the London music scene. So that's cool. Like you get a contract and then you trash their fucking offices.
Well, I feel like they knew who they were signing on.
I know, but I feel like they didn't expect that. So,
I'd be pretty pissed if I made that decision to sign somebody and then they're like, here and have a broken vase while you're at it.
Right. I'm pretty much going to shit all over you. Thanks.
Yeah.
They're at this club that's like established by members of the music scene in London, right? And the Sex Pistols members, so the whole band gets together and they confront the BBC DJ Bob Harris, who was the presenter of the Old Grey Whistle test. And I'm assuming that it's like kind of American Bandstandy, although it's non-chart featured music. So it's this television show that features music that hasn't yet hit the charts, maybe trying to make it on the charts.
Like still underground music.
Like underground music, yeah, exactly. So they blocked Harris behind the bar, and they had broken bottles in their hands, right? And they demanded to know why or when they would be put on the show, like why they hadn't been on the show, when they were going to be put on the show. And, you know, I feel like...
That's a good way to get what you want.
I was going to say, I feel like that's not the best way to approach it.
Right.
Right? Because I wouldn't want to do business with somebody who has held a broken bottle in my
sarcasm?
face. I did. I did, actually. I did. So this happens, right? And so then a bar fight ensues, and Sid jammed a broken bottle into the face of a BBC recording engineer named George Nicholson.
You really gonna get what you want now.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, violence. Violence is not the answer, kids.
No, it is not. The answer. Violence has and not ever will be.
No.
Not ever will be. Violence will never be the answer and has not ever been the answer. Let's reframe my sentences.
Or rephrase them?
Reframe.
Oh, I thought you said refrain.
No, just reframe them. But yeah, rephrase also works.
Okay, well, I thought you said reframe. I mean, rephrase.
Did say reframe.
I don't know. I can't remember what I thought you said. It's done. That's over now.
It was so 5 seconds ago.
Totally. So Harris was rescued by the Protocol Harem Road Crew, who obviously is another band that's hanging out at this, you know, at the speakeasy. I keep saying this speakeasy, but the name of the club is the Speakeasy.
Okay.
And so this crew grouped around him and escorted him out of the club, where they found that police had already cordoned off the entire block because there's a fucking riot. Like, they've created a riot. The Sex Pistols have created a riot.
Oh, great.
So they're gaining publicity and notoriety this way, in a negative way.
I mean, I guess getting yourself out there, there's no bad way for it, right? If you want your name to really get out there.
I guess.
If you want people to know who you are, there's no bad way to achieve that.
What do they say?
All news is, or, what is it? No, all publicity is good publicity.
Right.
I was thinking, like, news, but that's not what I meant.
No. You're just thinking getting your name out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being newsworthy was kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, that works. So none of the Sex Pistols were arrested, but the next day, weirdly, A&M dropped them.
Shocker.
Right? So they get signed one day, fuck shit up, and then get dropped.
And then they get done.
Right? Like, it's a real roller coaster ride of a 48 hour period here.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, that's crazy that they're like, let's get signed on. We're gonna break shit in your office, fuck shit up in here for a little bit. And then it's like...
And physically assault someone with a broken bottle.
Well, I was getting there.
Oh, my bad.
And then it's like, we're gonna go try and get featured on this thing that everybody else who's like us, who's in the same category, I don't necessarily mean punk, but I mean like trying to create a name for themselves, is going on this, like getting this opportunity. We're not getting this opportunity. We're going to go do something about this opportunity. We're going to continue to be violent. We're going to hurt somebody with a broken glass or a broken bottle. And then we're going to create a riot and we're going to get our names out there and then we're going to get dropped. But who gives a fuck?
Right. Pretty much. Because that's going to make us cooler.
Yeah.
So,
because they have this whole don't care mentality, I feel like.
I feel like you are absolutely correct. So after A&M dropped them, then Capitol Radio banned all Sex Pistols music from its radio stations, which only added to their allure. The punk scene allure of like, fuck the establishment, like, I'm so badass, I fuck shit up, everyone love me. It's not, I don't know.
Which then it's like this, what's the word? Like this forbidden kind of like attraction.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not allowed to do this, so I want to do it even more.
Right. They became forbidden.
It's like my dad being like, 6 dogs is good enough. And I'm like, 7 sounds real good.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Just like that.
I hope you hear that, Dad. It's coming.
So by this time, Sid had also contracted Hep C due to his intravenous drug use, which prevented him from performing with the band on a regular basis because he's sick, right? And so combined with his lack...
He's not working then either?
No.
Fuck.
And that combined with his lack of being able to play the bass made him all that much more cool.
Oh my God. This is all like a train wreck.
Right.
I feel like I'm like watching a dumpster fire happen or like a car accident. Like, I don't want to look away. Like, I also know I need to get out of the way, but like I can't look away.
Right. Yeah, it's all fucked up.
Like, let me slow down, drive by real slow.
Right. So can you imagine, like, you're in this band, but you can't really perform with the band because you have Hep C and you're sick and you're also a junkie. And so that probably precludes you from playing a lot of the time because you're too fucked up, right? And then on top of that, you can't really even play the instrument that you're in the band to play.
Yeah.
So he's fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, he's so cool.
Right? Everyone loves him. He's awesome. So Nancy, from the first episode, was going to London, yeah?
Right.
Because this is where the punk scene is at. And her brother and sister had even said about her that she was like always had the ear for what was up and coming.
Right. She was good at knowing the trends of what's to come in music.
Right. So she's leaving New York City because she wants to get with the punk scene. And again, from episode 1,
she liked Johnny
Rotten because he's the lead singer. He's the front man. So she's like, I gotta go get me some of that.
She's into him.
Yeah.
So she's gonna bring him drugs.
Yeah. And sleep with him.
And then be like, pay me for those.
Right.
Thanks for backstage passes. I'm gonna need some money for that.
So she's at one of their shows or whatever, right? 1977, London. Again, she wanted to meet Johnny Rotten. But when Sid and Nancy met each other, it was instant chemistry.
Okay.
So it was one of those, like, the two skunks in the Warner Brothers cartoons where they, like, their eyes go boo-boo, boo-boo with hearts and pop out of their heads when they see each other.
Like, it was just an instant attraction.
Yeah.
Like, love at first sight.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Or...
Lust at first sight?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like neither of them at this point are in a position to get into a relationship.
You think?
And we've already heard a spoiler alert from the top of the first episode, so I feel like it's all downhill from here.
Yeah, the first step's a doozy for sure. So she gained backstage access to the Sex Pistols by selling drugs to the band. This is a familiar theme, right?
Oh, so familiar.
And it was said that Sid's attraction to Nancy was because of the relationship that he had with his mom, right? So Nancy gave him drugs and she stood up for him with his bandmates, and like she was demanding more money and more publicity, while at the same time she would tear him down and make him feel worthless.
Okay, I understand some of that about like relating it to the mom about like the drugs. But I don't know how his mom has ever, like, stood up for him when she kicked him out. Like, she didn't, like, fight for him. She fought him.
But she took care of him his whole life until she kicked him out. And she did struggle to try to raise him. Like, she sold weed and stuff to support him.
No, I'm not saying any of that. But I'm saying, like, the standing up for, like, taking, like, pride in... like, who you've raised or who is your partner at this point.
Well,
I feel like she didn't necessarily take pride because she thought her life was cursed.
Well, that's true. But, okay, so it's...
Sorry.
Maybe it's just...
I'm just thinking about, like, that not being necessarily all true in relation to the mom. But the drugs, absolutely.
Well,
and the tearing down.
And it's the mother figure.
Yeah.
So, like, the nurturing...
Maybe the mom he always wanted.
The nurturing, the caring, like, you give a shit about me.
Yeah.
So, because, like I said, right away, like, she was just, like, in love with him, and he was in love with her, and she felt like he deserved more, and so right away, like, they're not even together very long, and she's like, give Sid this, give Sid that, he deserves this, he deserves that, where he wasn't obviously really speaking up for himself.
Okay.
But to be fair, he can't even play the bass and doesn't play a lot because he has Hep C and he's a junkie. So
yeah, he's an addict.
So maybe he didn't really deserve more. But I don't know. Nancy thought he did.
Well, that's because he was just the apple of her eye, I feel.
She thought he was shit for sure. So, at the same time, like I said, she tore him down. She made him feel worthless. She physically assaulted him and started fights in public before he went on stage. So,
which probably made it even cooler to go see the band.
Probably. Because he'd be like
that allure in more.
Well, and he'd be like agitated, right?
Yeah, so he's angry up there as he's playing for the Sex Pistols.
Exactly.
Being violent in their era of music.
Like just adding to that frustration, angry, fuck the world kind of
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, as you can imagine.
So the next time I'm having a bad day, I should turn on the Sex Pistols is what I'm hearing.
Sure.
Vent it out that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even know. I don't know what to say about that. But sure. Maybe you could break something. Throw a glass at someone. No, don't.
Well, I wasn't thinking like I was going to act like them. Just channel it through them.
Just listen.
Yeah.
Just listen.
Just be like, that's so relatable, man.
So people who were close to Sid hated Nancy. They thought that she was terrible for him. They thought she was a bad influence because, like, he is already a junkie, right? And
she is too.
She is a junkie. But it's that two worlds colliding thing.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's really sad. So he was less pliable than he had been previous to Nancy. So before he was like, go with the flow, like whatever they say goes, it's whatever, no big deal. And now he's got Nancy in his ear telling him he's so awesome and he deserves X, Y, and Z. And, they need to give you this, that, and the other. And so he's like becoming obstinate within his band. And, bands are supposed to be like mates. They're supposed to be like bros,
Right. They're supposed to be a team.
Yes, exactly. So,
that's not always the case because we see in bands where some people make more than others, but not if you're, I don't want to say like not a functioning part of the band because I think he definitely was part of the allure, it sounds like, to the band.
Yeah.
That he's, this notorious, like, has a record, fucking angry when he gets up there, like you said, like, adds to that violence, adds to that rage of, like, what they're trying to exude to their people who are there to watch them.
Right.
But other than that, it sounds like he's not contributing a lot to make more.
Right. Exactly. Like, he's obstinate and he's difficult to perform with. No, it totally does. And also, okay, so when I think of the Sex Pistols, which obviously you never thought of the Sex Pistols before, and this is before my time also, but like all this Sid and Nancy stuff went on, like, it still is a recurring theme in life where people talk about it, know about it, bring it up.
Right.
But so when you think of the Sex Pistols, literally the only two people that I know are Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious. Like, I don't know who the other Pistols are.
Yeah. I mean,
we could look it up. We could get the information.
I was going to say, I feel like, I don't know, I guess you couldn't have known because you weren't in this time. But if Sid Vicious was known because of this, because of everything that unfolded with his relationship with Nancy, or if he was known because of who he was in the band. Right. Because if he's also absent half the time, I guess. Well, I guess absence is noticed for people that are like band groupies.
Right.
Right, but
again, like I said, that just made him cooler.
Yeah.
But like he wasn't always there. And so I guess like when he's there.
A mystery.
Yeah. And like when he's there, it's like, oh my God, I saw them. And Sid was actually there. Right. So it'd be like even better. I don't know. It's weird.
I feel like that's a good marketing tactic.
Yeah.
Bring more attraction to the band. Like, you don't know if he'll be there or not. This may be like a limited edition kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
Sid's not limited edition, like not frequent.
I don't know.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Limited edition wasn't it, but like it's hard to find.
Like a guest appearance by a member of the band.
Yeah. Like maybe he'll be there, maybe he won't. I'm thinking like sometimes I go to the store, sometimes they have pretzel M&Ms and other times they don't.
Oh my God, that's the best analogy I've ever heard in my life. And I fucking love those pretzel M&Ms. Thanks.
Me too. That's what I was thinking about.
I want pretzel M&M.
It's kind of pretzel. It's kind of all I've been thinking about all day for like the last several days.
Oh, I'm glad you're present. So in 1978, the band, the Sex Pistols, they go on tour in the United States, and they forbade Nancy from joining them, and they hoped that this would squash the relationship between them. But it did just the opposite, and it seemed as if they literally couldn't live without each other.
I feel like that's kind of rude. I mean, I understand that they don't like her, but I feel like that's kind of rude to be like, you can't come back to your home country with us, even though you could, like, help one of the members of the band get a work visa to be over here, but, like, nah, fuck you.
Well, and this whole, like, they can't live without each other thing, it was literally a 2-week tour. So he's going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so... I don't know how being away from each other for 2 weeks is going to squash a relationship. Like, if you're really in love, I feel like you could spend 2 weeks apart and still be in love.
Absolutely.
You know? So, it's not like they're going to be gone for months.
Time apart makes the heart grow fonder.
And that's what happened. Like, 2 weeks, and they're like, oh my God, I can't live without you.
Oh, did they? So she didn't go?
She didn't, because they forbade it.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know.
And plus, they were paying for it. No. And I mean, you know, the band's marketing, whatever, the tour, whoever signed them for the tour, they're paying for them to go. And so if the band had wanted Nancy to go, she would have went. But they're like, no, this bitch isn't coming.
Right.
Like, don't pay for her.
Yeah, this bitch is banned from coming.
Right.
To whatever you're paying for.
Right. Exactly.
Like, the things that you're paying for, she has no access to these things.
Right. Sid's a party of one.
Yeah.
He has no +1 in this situation.
There's nobody attached at the hip that can go through. Well, I guess they didn't have TSA. But there's nobody attached at the hip that can enter this plane with him.
Yeah.
No lap sitters.
Or lap dances. That's straight where I went. But anyway. Okay. So Sid had a reputation as someone who used drugs, right? He drinks to excess. And the pair had a very tumultuous relationship. Unfortunately for Nancy, which this breaks my heart because of what we know about her from the first episode, right?
Yeah.
The press started referring to her as nauseating Nancy.
Ooh.
Yeah, right?
Ouch.
Ouch is right.
That sucks. That would be terrible. I mean, like, I feel like some of her actions have been a little bit nauseating, but her as a human, like, she's a broken soul.
Yeah.
Like, don't put that out there. That's fucking rude.
It's not cool. So, but you know, the press isn't kind, as we know. And the reason that they called her nauseating Nancy was because of the public displays, and I'm talking very public displays, right, of verbal and physical abuse that weren't only on Nancy's part. They were like that to each other.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I just need to know something. I don't know if you would know this, but was she violent with any of the other members or just Sid?
Just Sid, because she loves him.
Yeah, violence is love and glamour, I suppose, right?
Right? Yeah, abuse the ones you love.
Yeah, that's a way of doing it.
Right? And so...
Not a good way, but a way.
And it just adds to their notoriety because, in a way, they're the embodiment of the punk rock revolution, right? Everything against social norms and encouraging hatred and acting out with aggression and violence.
Okay, so, sure.
Not peace, love, and holding hands and being chill.
Right, that's not why that's why they're not smoking weed and they're doing heroin. Although, that's, like, very relaxing. I'm surprised that they're, like, not doing crack and, like, yelling at people on the street.
I know. Well, plus doesn't heroin
that was
make
a
you
really
fall asleep?
Bad general. That's what I'm saying. Like, heroin makes you sleepy. Well, I guess I didn't actually say that, but it happened through my head that, like, heroin will knock you out.
Aww.
But, like, if you do meth or crack, like... You have, like, this uppity up, and then, like, when you come down, you usually are pretty aggressive.
Well, maybe it's like that with heroin, too. But anyway, I'm not going to get into...
When you come down, you'd be waking up.
Well, but you maybe want more, and then you're all agitated because you don't have it or whatever, right? I don't know. So while they were on tour, Sid was forced to take methadone in order to come off heroin, and he was only paid a small amount to prevent him from being able to afford heroin. So it was said that they only paid him $14 a week.
Oh, shit.
So he's on tour and he made $28.
I mean, okay. I would just like to backtrack. I don't have anything against addicts. Like, that's a shitty fucking thing, right? Like, that's a shitty fucking illness to have is addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. But Yeah, this guy is just whack.
Yeah.
And she is also semi-whack.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to say, like, I don't have respect for either of them, but, like, I definitely feel like respect getting lost, but, like, the more I hear about this violence and stuff, and that's also drug-fueled.
Yeah.
Which is where I think the loss of respect comes in.
Well, and they're both just super broken people.
Yeah.
So they're self-medicating with drugs, and they both just so desperately want to be loved. That's the bottom line, is that they both just really want to be loved, and this relationship that they're in is their idea of love.
Sad.
It's real sad. So,
but
again,
that's hilarious that he only made $28.
Right? So, he's forced to take methadone, which I think still kind of gives you that. But
what year was that?
It was in 1978.
Okay.
So Sid's like pissed off, right? He spends the whole entire 2 weeks, the tour, in a state of withdrawal. And he spends the entire time that they're on. Dude!
I turned my phone because I needed to know how much $28 was today in today's money.
How much is $28 in today's money, Daphne?
And then my dad texted me. $127.
Still not a huge bank for being on tour.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No. So Sid's angry. He's in withdrawal from not only heroin, but the love of his life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, so 2 weeks. Get over it.
Seems like an eternity.
I guess.
Right.
I suppose to some people.
Maybe.
So, God, my boyfriend doesn't listen to us. I'm like, 2 weeks.
Hi, fucker.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cam. Didn't mean
I
that.
love you, Cam.
So on January 10th, before going on stage, Sid carved the words, "Give me a fix," into his chest with a razor blade in hopes that someone would do just that. And of course, someone did.
Oh, God. And did that scar in those words?
I don't have that answer, but I guess it depends on how deep it was.
I feel like you gotta write it deep enough for people to be able to see it while you're on stage in the back.
Yeah, well...
And large enough.
I put a picture of it on our Instagram last week. So, because it's a pretty infamous thing, and if people know the story, then they would already know that. So, yeah.
Okay.
And you questioned me. You're like, why? But whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
But that's because people who know the story already know the story.
Well, I just questioned why you put it into her life post.
Well, because he was at the beginning of her life post. So
he was not at the beginning of her life. He entered at the end.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, at the story, he was in the beginning.
Okay,
we started with the climactic ending, mostly. Sort of, not exactly. Okay, anyway, he carves this phrase, "Give me a fix," into his chest with a razor blade, and somebody gives him a fix. So after spending just 2 weeks on the American tour, and he's sullen, he's angry, he's in withdrawal, he can't see his girl, and so he gets on a plane from California to New York, and he's supposed to be going back from New York to the UK. He takes an excess amount of Valium and takes it with alcohol, so he's on the plane and he becomes comatose.
Yeah, that would do it to you.
Right? Go figure.
I feel bad for, like, laughing at all these things, but it's like...
That'll do it.
Yeah. If you were looking to get, knocked on your ass, like, take some Valium, drink some liquor, you're good to go.
Right, and apparently not some, but a lot.
Excessive amounts.
Right? Not just little.
No, I feel bad for, like, laughing at, like, addiction things, but just, like, I don't know, I want to be like, just get help. But, like, clearly it's much deeper than that because it's a illness.
It is an illness. And they're just, again, can't probably say this enough, but they're broken, very broken people.
Oh my God, they're so broken. I feel so sad for them.
Me too. So when they landed in New York, Sid was hospitalized, and he was told by doctors that if he didn't change his partying ways, it was going to kill him. Which, that's fair.
That would do that. That'd put you in liver failure, like, real quick. I know it took me a minute to get to liver failure, but I was going to say, like, I would already be in liver failure.
Right. Or just
after
OD,
the first dosage of it.
Like, because you're living super
recklessly, that your heart slows down so much that it could just fucking stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can't breathe because your brain is so freaking, what's the word I'm looking for?
Mush.
Decompensated. Like, it's so fogged. It's so
but that
inebriated.
I don't think that'd fuck with your involuntary responses.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
for
know.
sure.
I guess I don't know. I'm not a science person by
it can
any means.
totally interfere with that kind of stuff. So anyway, Sid and Nancy have this 19-month relationship. During this time, they both became more obsessed with heroin than they already were going into the relationship. And according to people who knew Sid, said that he was only interested in Nancy and heroin, and he lost interest in everything else, which weirdly caused a problem with the band. Because he doesn't want to practice, he doesn't want to participate, and Nancy thinks that Sid's the real talent of the band and wants him to be making more money and get more recognition. But again, he's not fucking participating or showing up.
Right.
So you can't have it both ways, right?
Absolutely. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
No, you can't. So but they're fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't know that.
Their judgment is very clouded. We could say that, right? So shortly after the U.S. tour...
I think that's a good way to put everything, that their judgment is clouded, like, basically throughout both of their entire lives.
Yeah. Yeah. So good synopsis, Gail?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that.
Okay. So shortly after the U.S. tour was over, he and Nancy were reunited in Europe, and they spent some time in Paris because he got paid when he got back, right? So he got his small little $14 a week while he was on tour.
It's $28, which is $127 today.
In today's money.
Ooh. This was a United States company, so it was dollars, not pounds, right?
Yes.
That would be a different translation.
They gave him $14 a week.
Okay.
So,
I wonder what that looks like in quid. I won't look it up, though.
And down the rabbit hole she goes. So
that's what I like to do.
They're hanging out in Paris, and they decide that Sid's too fucking good for the Sex Pistols, and they're gonna go back to the United States because Nancy has connections, right? She knows Debbie Harry from Blondie. She was writing articles for these magazines.
Right. She can get him his own new thing happening there.
Right. So she's like, if we go back to the United States, I know people, and so I can help you create your own career, right? And again, he has no musical training, and obviously he's got something, but because he was writing music and performing in these other bands, but
it doesn't mean he has anything special that people would want to pay for.
No, and I don't think, he's nothing, he's nothing special. I don't think he's actually talented, or maybe he was at one point in time. He was just
amongst something that had hype built up around it.
He was an act. He was part of an act that was developed by Malcolm McLaren as a marketing plan. So Malcolm McLaren, he's involved in different movements throughout his lifetime, and so I'm not going to go into that, but he has he starts punk clothes, and the kids that are hanging out in the punk clothing scene, that's how he recruited the four Johns, these two, to be in the band, and he started the Sex Pistols.
So he started them.
It was all a marketing thing. So again, because I was going on Sid and Nancy, I don't want to because I totally could have way rabbit holed on Malcolm McLaren too.
Well, I rabbit hole on everything.
Right. But this is already super long, and we're already...
No, it's fine. Continue.
No, I'm just saying. So I didn't really want to go into that.
Totally off the rails.
But yeah, so I mean, you can Google Malcolm McLaren. You can see who he is, what he's about, and basically...
the things he's done.
Yeah, and basically he's just he's a mogul. He finds something that is a niche and capitalizes on it.
Yeah.
He's this is going to be a thing, so I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to push this thing.
Right.
So the Sex Pistols were just an act, and Sid was just part of that act, right? So for Malcolm McLaren, Sid's just a means to an end, money-wise, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so they come back to the United States, and they go back to Pennsylvania to stay with Nancy's family while they were waiting for their stuff to come from the UK, and then they were going to move to New York. And when Nancy showed up with Sid, her family was blown away. They were so shocked. They were clearly heavily addicted to drugs and suffered from many physical injuries. And, also they had track marks everywhere. And Nancy said, because they were all beat up and bruised and battered, right, when they get there, that they had been attacked on multiple occasions by this group of people called the Teddies, who hated punk rockers. And Nancy's ear had even been recently ripped off and sewn back on. And she still had the
fuck?
Yeah, she still had the stitches.
Ow.
Right? Can you imagine?
Fuck.
Right?
I bet she was on so much shit, though, she probably didn't even feel it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I hope for her
hurt.
sake, at least, she didn't feel it, because she's on so much
But could you imagine and having to have your ear sewn back on?
Well, okay, now I'm also sitting in, like, the family perspective of, like, I mean, you know, they've always known that she's unstable, like, what she's been up to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I saw the before and after pictures, obviously, we're done with part 1, like, I looked her up, and then it was, like, night and day.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, a crazy night and day, like, sweet-looking Jewish girl turned crazy punk rock scene, you know.
Junkie,
yeah.
And also, you got to keep in mind, because they're so public, right, in the UK, that her parents have seen her on TV.
Okay, so it wasn't a shock when they saw the blonde hair.
I think in person, it was a shock.
But, like, the blonde hair.
I think she did that before she went over there.
Her appearance wasn't, like, her... I'm not talking about, like, her injuries and track marks, but, like, her physical appearance changing was not a surprise, probably, then.
Yeah, well, because they had seen her on TV. So, and they'd seen her, like, and all of a sudden, too, she's, like, adopted this British accent.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, and she's only been over there for 19 months, and she grew up her whole life in Pennsylvania, but whatever. After a short time in Pennsylvania, they went to New York, and Nancy was acting as Sid's manager, and she was actually lining up gigs for him, and they continued, as they had before, to ask Nancy's family for money, because their money hasn't come yet, right? And Nancy's mom never directly gave them money, like when Nancy was living in New York before.
Like how she would pay for the apartment.
Yeah, she's like,
the money would not go in Nancy's hand.
Right, because they knew that, or, her mom knew that they would just use the money for drugs. So she told them that she would help pay for housing expenses, doctor bills, but she refused to give them the money, right?
Okay.
So one time, Sid became belligerent on the phone with Debbie and scared the hell out of her, right? Because she's seen him as this quiet, meek, subdued guy that Nancy literally is speaking for him, holding him, cutting up his food on his plate. Like...
That's weird.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, her family, like I said, they were like, holy crap, what's happening right now? So, again, I feel sorry for this whole family.
Yeah.
That's where I was in part 1. It's like, oh my God, this family. And Nancy, part of the family going through this also, right?
Yeah.
So on the Sunday before Nancy was killed, she phoned her mother and admitted that Sid was the one that had been abusing her and that the physical damage to her was from Sid. It wasn't from the teddies. So
Okay.
Sid's the one that had ripped her ear off. And yeah, so it's all bad. So she asked her mom.
I figured as much, so that was just a
ruse.
Yeah, the teddies.
A cover up.
What, like little teddy bears who hate punk?
Well, and the teddies could be really a thing. I didn't look it up, but
I mean, there's always opposers.
Right.
To whatever you do. But, that's a little excessive to be like,
well, and
I hate punk rock. You represent violence. I'm going to rip your ear off.
Right. Well, and if you're in love with this guy and you're bringing him home to your family, obviously you don't want to be like, hey, he ripped my ear off. Can we stay here?
Yeah.
And actually her mom put them up like in the Holiday Inn because she didn't want them in the house because...
There's 2 younger siblings.
Well, and yeah, because the chaos that Nancy caused when she was home on other occasions.
As a 2-year-old, yeah.
Well, okay. That is true.
Uh-huh.
That is true. So Nancy called her mom and she asked for help for both of them to get them clean. And Debbie was prepared to make the call to get them both into a rehab program, or at least Nancy into a program. Like, she's willing to help Sid because Nancy loves Sid and she wants to help her daughter and, help Sid. This is a Sunday before she dies, right? Debbie was notified of Nancy's death. She and Frank went to New York to ID her body. So she calls her mom. Okay, sorry, That's
like a huge time jump.
No, it isn't, actually, because... What happened?
I thought you said that they were staying in like a Holiday Inn, but she died at the Chelsea Hotel.
But they went back to New York because I said that they only stayed a short time, and then when they were hitting her up for money, and Sid called Debbie and was like screaming and yelling at her because they said that Nancy had a kidney infection and needed to go to the doctor, and they wanted $3,000, and she's like, "We'll go to the hospital and I'll pay the hospital bill, but I'm not giving you $3,000."
Okay.
Like, I know what you're gonna do with that money, right?
Yeah.
So on Sunday, she calls and she asks for help to get them admitted into this into a program, some kind of a program, right? So then on Monday, her mom has it written on her calendar that she was going to call this rehab place, and she like never gets around to it on that day because she's busy. It's a Monday, whatever. And after Debbie was notified,
so that's, she was supposed to call, and then that's the day she got the notice of her death.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. That makes more sense.
Sorry. Sorry. I'm trying to look back in my notes here and see what it said. So I think maybe it wasn't exactly a Monday, but maybe like a couple days or whatever. But she called her on Sunday. Debbie goes to work the following day. She writes it in her calendar that she needs to help, that she needs to get them into a program. She's working. She doesn't really have time to deal with getting them into a program.
So while she's not getting them into a program because she has her own life to live.
Right.
Instead of constantly just being hand and foot at Nancy, then she gets a call that Nancy's dead.
So she gets a call from the police, right? And the police tell her that her daughter's dead and that they need to go to New York to ID the body. So she can't get a hold of her husband. So finally she gets a hold of Frank, and they go to New York the next day to ID her body. And of course, they are assuming that she's died of a drug overdose. And they were super shocked to learn that she'd been fatally stabbed. And again, it was the knife that she bought for Sid that was used to stab her. And they were met with multiple unpleasant experiences, because I can't imagine being a parent that finds out that, like, you think your kid died from an OD and then you go and find out that she's actually been killed. And, so like you have a whole different scenario in your head. And in the book, Debbie said that over and over and over throughout Nancy's life, she just had kind of pictured her death or imagined her death, because from a young age she was saying that she wanted to die. And when her and Sid got back to Pennsylvania, she said, I'm not going to make it to my 21st birthday. So, and like everybody just kind of like ignored the comment, but they were like driving in the car going to dinner, so
like she was going to kill herself before that happened,
or just something bad was going to happen,
like she preemptively knew that her life was going to end.
Yeah, exactly. So again, they find out that she's been fatally stabbed. It's not a drug overdose, and like the justice system per se is kind of crass to this kind of thing, because they're looking at it like a junkie and like a murder, and like they're not like, it's, I don't know, they kept calling Nancy it and the body, and the coroner,
that's good bedside manner.
Yeah. Well, listen, the coroner that they actually dealt with was having them fill out the paper, and they had to ID her body and stuff, and having them again fill out the paperwork. And it was a woman coroner, and she literally said to them, how do you know this piece of shit?
Ew.
And it's her daughter.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, and then the press is relentless.
Of course, because they're big names in the UK.
Right. And
and in the States too.
Right. And so the press is camping outside their house, outside of Frank and Nancy's house, or Frank and Debbie's house, and they're calling. And so they have to change their phone number. And like, again, like I said, I can't imagine dealing with any of it, let alone all of it.
Right.
So after Sid was arrested, because again, from part one, he admitted that he did it. He's the one that called and said that he needed help. But then right away, he recanted his story. He's arrested. He's let out on bail. When he gets out on bail, he tries to kill himself right away. And so he's hospitalized he's put like on a suicide hold, right? So he called Debbie on at least one occasion, and he had to leave a message through the operator because they had changed their number and gotten an unlisted phone number because the press was calling and hounding.
Right.
And the press is lying and saying like they're like the cops or something. And so they need to know X, Y, and Z. So the family inadvertently, accidentally is giving them information also. And when they realize sometimes that it's the press.
Ethics.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I can't even, when I was reading it, I was like, holy shit. And it makes you have
that's a really poor moral standard and ethical code.
And it makes you have a different perspective on the press.
Well, of course.
Well, I just didn't realize that. I mean, because you think that truth in journalism, but not necessarily.
Well, I mean, the press isn't necessarily journalists.
That's fair. That is fair. I don't know. It just, I was awestruck.
There's good journalism and there's bad journalism, obviously.
Obviously.
Like, we see a bunch of articles reported with false information all the time, where it's like, where did this fact actually come from? Oh, it didn't. You just pulled it out of your butt.
Right. You just
or
made it
somebody told you something that wasn't true.
Right. And then you reported it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he calls her from wherever he's being held, leaves a message for the operator. And Debbie was too afraid not to call him back because she didn't know what he would be capable of if she didn't respond to him in some way, shape, or form, right? So she calls him back and he says to her how much he loved Nancy and that he couldn't live without her. And on one occasion, he also wrote Debbie a letter expressing how deeply he loved Nancy and how he just wanted to die without her. Because again, they're like...
This tortured love story.
Tortured love story, exactly.
Okay, I want to say, yeah, no. I know that they're like Romeo and Juliet-esque, but I hate comparing them to Romeo and Juliet because that's like a very well-known, very well-written Shakespearean novel that is world-renowned and like something people study in school, right? Like, it is a foundation of literature in the United States and probably around the world as well, or I would imagine in parts of the world. And just like the staple of literature that's like well-written, easy to understand, like all these things, right? A great story.
Right.
But theirs is so fucked up. I hate comparing it to that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But, and also, I don't know, never mind. I'm not going to go into the whole Romeo and Juliet thing because that's a whole nother thing. Debbie had speculated many times throughout Nancy's life that, what's the word I'm looking for? I totally lost my train of thought. But Nancy said over and over again that she wanted to die. She'd attempted suicide on multiple occasions. And so Nancy thought that maybe Nancy had asked Sid to kill her.
Well, yeah, that's not Romeo and Juliet.
No. So, like, maybe it's like a suicide pact. Or maybe she just was so freaking crazy that she goaded him into doing it. So, like
end the pain and misery for me. If you
or,
love
like,
me.
just like, oh, stab me. Go ahead, stab me. Like how he ripped her ear off.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you want to punch me? You want to beat me up? Here's a knife. Stab me with it.
Here's the knife I bought for you. Just fucking stab me with it.
Right. So, speculation. Did she goad Sid into doing it? Did she commit suicide? Was it a suicide pact that Sid wasn't able to follow through on?
Yeah.
So, in any case, her daughter was dead. And many times, like I said, she self-admittedly knew that her daughter was going to die young and in some ways thought it would be free her from this painful burden that the family had suffered for Nancy's whole life, right?
Yeah. But I mean, even after, they're still going to be suffering.
Right. But I mean, in her head, she had like this romantic notion kind of like Nancy's going to die of a drug overdose or she's going to commit suicide. And then these are the motions that I'm going to go through. And Nancy's going to be out of the picture and we're going to get to have like a normal life, right? But obviously that didn't happen because then when it really happens, it's devastating. I can only imagine.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, you can plan to go through the motions, but emotions can override motions.
Right. Exactly. So Sid would never stand trial for the second-degree murder of Nancy that he was charged with. On December 5th, while Sid was out at a nightclub, he attacked Todd Smith, who's the brother of Patti Smith, she's a singer. So Sid was flirting with Todd Smith's girlfriend, and Todd didn't like it, weirdly. So, again, history repeats itself. Sid smashes a beer bottle and cuts Todd in the face. Sid was arrested for assault on December 7th, so 2 days later, they catch up with him. He's arrested. He's out on bail.
So, is he still in the United States?
Yeah, because he's just out on bail. Okay. And so Sid's people, and I'm air quoting, have gotten him out on bail. But he has to stay because he's going to go on trial. Fans. Yeah. No, his, like, I think...
Maybe family.
Family, and then I think, like, probably Malcolm McLaren. I think it's, like...
Didn't want
people that were...
The Sex Pistols' reputation to be absolutely tarnished for murder.
Right, although, again, probably more notoriety. But, so 2 days later, the police catch up with him. He's arrested, and weirdly, it violated the terms of his... being released, being out on bond for the charges that were pending from Nancy's death.
Right, his parole.
Uh-huh. Well, he's on bond. He's not on... Your parole's after you're convicted. So he's just out on bond. And you can't fuck up.
That's probation.
No. Because he's not been sentenced to anything yet. So he's not on probation. He's just out. Like, he got arrested. He got bailed out. He's out. But
Okay.
when you're out, you can't do anything. Like, you can't fuck up anymore.
There still are rules.
Right. So he's sent to Rikers Island and forced to complete a mandatory detox program. And on January 18th of 1978, he was released again on the condition that he complete the detox program. And he had to report to the homicide unit at Rikers Island 3 times a week. Right, to do this methadone detox program.
Yeah.
So he's not using because they're checking him and he's using methadone and like all of that, right? So he completed the program on February 1st of 1978.
That's today.
Oh, it is, but it's not 1978, but it's February
the
1st.
anniversary of him completing a program.
Oh, weird. So he gets out, he completes this program, right? He's detoxed.
Happy anniversary, Sid, of being detoxed.
So what are you going to do when you are detoxing from heroin in order to celebrate?
Hang on. I have a guess for this. Is he gonna go right back and do it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep, he asked a friend to get him some heroin, and then he went to his new girlfriend's apartment where there were drugs and other stuff being used by everybody in the group, including Sid's mom, Ann Beverly, who's come over because he's been arrested for, second-degree murder, and she wants to support her son. So she's in town, to support her son.
Hang out, do drugs.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, congratulations on your detox. Here's some heroin.
Pleasant.
Yeah. So reportedly, even though Sid was already nodding off, he was given 4 Quaaludes and nodding off from heroin, right?
Yeah.
So he was given 4 Quaaludes to help him sleep. And the next morning on February 2nd, he was found by his mother and Michelle Robinson, his new girlfriend, right? And he was dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he died.
Of an overdose.
He died of an overdose. And Sid was just 21 years old when they're going through his stuff. Like, his mom finds a note in his pocket that would further the suicide pact theory, because the note read, and this is direct quote from the note, and I have a picture of it, so we'll put it on the Instagram.
Okay.
It says, "We had a death pact. I have to keep my half of the bargain. Please bury me next to my baby. Bury me in my leather jacket, jeans, and motorcycle boots. Goodbye."
So now we have an answer. It was a suicide pact.
Maybe.
Between the two of them.
Maybe. Because there's still that speculation from the first episode that guy maybe killed her because they had 24 grand and then that money was gone. And they were all using drugs. You have to listen to episode 1.
Okay.
So, anyway.
I feel like it's a pretty solid answer, though, because they're both so unstable.
They are both so unstable. So, after Sid died, his mom phoned the Spungens and asked if she could bury Sid next to Nancy.
Oh, God.
Right?
That's disrespect at its finest.
It is. So the request was denied, weirdly, obviously. And
oh, my gosh. Absolutely. Hell no. You are not going to be buried next to my child.
Exactly. Some sources claim that Sid was cremated and that his ashes were spread over Nancy's grave. But obviously,
if
we don't know.
souls are real, they're both somewhere together.
Right. Yeah. Well, souls are real.
I mean, if, the afterlife is... That's not what I meant, not souls. But their souls are definitely somewhere together if they really...
They loved each other.
Yeah.
So they're together
if it was
forever.
meant to be, they're somewhere together. I don't want to say where.
Yeah, they're somewhere
not really
together.
sure where that is.
So although everybody believed that they truly did love each other, they were both so fucked up. They just wanted to be loved and to not be in pain, right?
Right.
So even Nancy's family was like, we know that they loved each other, obviously. But still, you can't be buried next to our daughter.
Yeah.
So Deborah found herself...
I'm sorry, what'd they do with his body?
Well, like I said, it's alleged that he was cremated and spread over her grave.
But it's alleged.
Yeah, it's not known for sure. But Ann Beverly said that they did. But again, she's also a junkie.
Yeah.
So who knows? After all of this happens, right, Deborah's totally lost. And so she finds help for herself by helping others and trying to get answers for parents who've suffered in the same way that they did. And, again, there's no answer for what was going on with Nancy. There's no diagnosis. But ultimately, it wasn't her fault in how she was made to feel. It wasn't Debbie's fault.
Oh, no. All of Nancy's childhood was not Debbie's fault. She was told it was. You're just not being a parent.
Right.
No, it's something deeper than that.
So her grief at least went to a good place because she knew that she wasn't the only parent. She knew she wasn't the only parent that had to have gone through any of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So through her seeking help, she finds she's watching, I feel like it was an episode of Phil Donahue or something, which is like the Dr. Phil of this day and age. Yeah. And that people were talking about what happened with their child being murdered and that their child had kind of these same psychological issues and had no diagnosis and how they were treated like shit by the coroner. And so she had like this kindred spirit. And also these people, this couple that were on the show had this group that was like a survivor group for
parents
of murdered children. And so she called to see if there was a chapter locally, and these people were like, no, would you like to start one? And of course she has to think about it. But eventually her road leads her to start a chapter for this group and like helps her to heal. Good. So again, something good.
She deserves that.
Right. So she has common ground with people and she doesn't feel so isolated because she was like really went through a deep, deep funk, which I can imagine. And feeling like she's the only one, right? So she became an advocate for herself, which is great, as well as others, and at least found some purpose in the tragedy. And the whole family had a lot of healing to do and trauma to work through because of what they had lived through for so many years. And also, Debbie helped develop a program and wrote pamphlets and stuff for coroners and police officers and like attorneys, like the state's attorneys, dealing with people who are going through stuff like this because
cool.
Because they found out
helping with not legislation, no,
just education.
Okay,
because she found out also that they weren't the only ones that were treated like this.
Yeah,
that it was common for.
She's helping with ethical standards of it,
right, and bedside manner.
Yeah,
because she found out that that it wasn't uncommon for people to be treated like shit.
They weren't alone in this.
Yeah. The body being called being called the body.
The piece of shit.
Just things that were said that are disrespectful when you're in that kind of crisis, that kind of situation.
Absolutely.
So it was good.
Those are things that should never be said to anyone.
No. It was good that she found an outlet and that she was able to heal.
Yeah.
And like I said, the family had a lot of healing to do and there was a lot of work that needed to be done across the board.
Well, I hope that in their lives they found that healing because it sounds like it wasn't just tragic on Nancy. It was tragic for everybody. It affected her baby sister who was constantly taunted by Nancy. Mm-hmm. And then her baby brother who was loved out of spite for the sister. And then, I mean, I'm sure she genuinely did love him, but like, you know, it was a spiteful love to be directed to hurt the sister. And her parents who like dealt with these feelings of like her mom especially. I mean, I know her dad dealt with it too, like once he came to the realization that it was real and what's happening. And like he dealt with the fact that she had to leave school early and he had to be involved in that and her role she played in like catching this drug ring. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So hopefully they're finding healing.
I still digest it too. Well, like I said in episode 1, Frank died in 2010.
Okay.
So he's no longer with us. And at the time,
Debbie still alive?
Yeah, I think that what I was reading there, some stuff from like 2017. She's still alive, so I don't know if she's still alive right now. The book that she wrote is called And I Don't Want to Live This Life, a mother's story of her daughter's murder by Deborah Spungen. It was an excellent read. It was such a good book. If anybody wants to read it, I linked it in the show notes for the first episode. Link it in the show notes for the second episode.
Yeah.
I would ask you your thoughts, but you literally just told me.
No, I liked it. It's just a lot to unpack.
It is.
Now my brain is just sitting here processing. Well, it's like, it's just so tragic, and I feel like an asshole for like feeling a little bit insensitive, but I'm like, it just literally the entire time, and this is also how I feel about people on drugs. Like it just seems like they kind of want to die the whole time that they're using, right? And this is no different, that it just kind of sounds like you're looking for comfortable way out, like an excusable way out, like, oh, they're a drug addict, that was expected. Mm-hmm. Kind of way out of life, which is like cheating the system of life.
Cheating the system. Yeah, because there's a plan laid out for you. And doing drugs and trying to take yourself out is probably not part of the master plan.
Unless it is.
Well, there is that too.
Yeah.
There is that.
Could be some people's. But yeah, no, I just feel very bad for them. And it's sad. But I mean, hopefully they brought each other happiness in the times of joy.
Right.
In the times that we're able to be, you know, filled with actual love between the two of them, not this like painful, like tortured love, but like happy love. Hopefully they found those moments.
Hopefully, because like it's said that they really truly did love each other. They were just both really broken people. Bottom line, very, very broken people. And sorry for like jumping ahead in certain places because I realized that I did that. But I was trying not to make it a 3-parter and we're already getting into a really long second episode. So I was trying to like condense some information.
Yeah.
So hopefully the explanation is all there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got any questions, type them in the Instagram.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the post. You can ask us any questions there. Drop your questions, or you can send us a DM. You could send us an email. You guys got all that information at the top of the episode. And I have something to propose. Follow us, listen, like.
Follow, like.
Rate us 5 stars. I dare you.
Yeah.
That's my proposal.
Thanks.
It's a dare proposal.
Thanks for listening, Daff.
Yeah, I loved it. All right, take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.